What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. So today I want to talk about why we want to see a good economy. Okay, now when it comes to Social Security specifically, I'm talking about that today, but a good economy is going to help everyone, and it will also help people who are currently receiving benefits and then people who plan to receive Social Security benefits in the very near future. So I want to talk about that because I think we kind of gloss over. Obviously, we want to have a good economy, and right now we're teetering on falling into a recession. If and some economists have already said that they think that we're going into a recession if we're not already there. But a good economy means good things for people receiving Social Security benefits. So let's talk a little bit about that in this video. But first off, you guys can do me a favor. Please like the video, and if you're watching this video and you want to see more content like this, please consider subscribing to the channel. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at this illustration here. Now we're going to talk about the different scenarios here. We have high cost, intermediate, and low cost, and I'll explain to you what all of these mean. But when we're talking about the economy, if the economy is striving and everything is going well in our economy, that will help people receiving Social Security benefits, and I'll explain. Okay, so the first one we're going to focus on is high cost, okay? And this is, we're looking at the trust funds because we have to understand how things work when it comes to trust funds. So we have a trust funds about 2.6, 2.7 trillion that's sitting in a trust fund. They're taking a little bit of that money every month to help pay out benefits because we have FICA. So we have that 6.2% that you contribute and your employer contributes 6.2%. That is FICA. That's the money that's going to pay out benefits because we have a pay-as-you-go system. So it goes to pay out people who are currently receiving benefits, but it can't pay out those benefits at 100%. We don't have enough right now going through. We don't have enough people in the workforce in order to provide that. And so because of that, now they have to pull a little bit more from the trust funds. And so they're pulling a little bit more every month for the trust funds. Eventually, those trust funds will run out of money. When that happens, and if Congress doesn't act before then and try to pull in more revenue to help save the trust funds, well, we're going to see a cut across the board of about 23%. And so let's get back to this illustration. So if we're looking at a worst case scenario, that would mean that our economy has slowed down. So if we have slow GDP growth, and then we have low wage growth, okay, because understand this, if you have low wage growth, that means that people aren't moving up the ladder when it comes to the money that they're earning, because if you earn more, you're paying more in FICA, okay, up to a point, 176,100. So if we have, higher wage growth, that will be good because you're collecting more money in FICA, and that money is going to pay out people who are currently receiving benefits. And so if you have low wage growth, it's the opposite. That means you're taking less money in from FICA, which means that you have to draw more on the trust funds, which means you'll deplete those trust funds much sooner, and then we'll see that cut across the board of about 23%. Okay, so higher unemployment. This is another worst case scenario. If we see unemployment, just like we saw the jobs numbers come out and we saw the revisions, and you saw we weren't hiring as many people in the last several months, that impacts FICA because you have less people who are working, so less people contributing to FICA, which means less money going to pay out benefits, which means you need to draw on the trust funds much more, okay? Longer life expectancy. Now, this is something that we all want to live longer. And if we are living longer, and this is the worst case scenario, okay, but I think it's good that we live longer, but if we are living longer, that means we are receiving Social Security benefits for a longer period of time, and that can impact the overall stability of the trust funds because you're going to have to draw more in the trust funds because people are living longer lives. Now, we all want to live longer lives, so when it comes to this, although it is a worst case scenario, it's a good best case scenario for an individual, right? And then lower birth rates. This is something that's not talked about enough, but we have low birth rate right now. And we need higher birth rates because higher birth rates means we have more people that will eventually start working and they'll eventually start contributing to FICA and they will help out the people who are currently receiving benefits. Okay, now they're giving estimates here. The projection is if we saw a worst case scenario, the trust funds will be depleted by 2030 or 2031. And then the benefit cuts there would be between 25 and 27%. Okay, now Let's look at the intermediate. This is most likely. This is what we're on pace for right now. This is what we're seeing right now. And so if we're looking at this scenario, we would have moderate GDP. So our economy would be okay. Okay, it's not doing really great. It's not doing really bad. And so we would see steady wage growth. So that means that people would steadily be earning more and more, which is good because they're contributing to FICA, and that money is going to pay out people receiving Social Security benefits. We'd have stable employment. And so stable employment is good because you have people that are working. As long as you have people that are working, they're contributing to FICA. Okay, and then moderate life expectancy. Now, this is if we have, and this is kind of what we're saying right now, you have moderate life expectancy. People on average aren't dying really young, but we don't see a long life expectancy. So if we're in the middle there. And so this is what we're hearing politicians talk about, right? 2033, that's when the trust funds will be completely depleted. And that's why they're saying this, because they're looking at this moderate economy, okay? And then benefit cuts of about 19%. I've heard it as high as 23% across the board there. Okay, now I want to take a look at the low cost. Now, this is the best case scenario when it comes to our economy and when it comes to prolonging our trust funds, allowing our trust funds to go past that 2033 mark that you're hearing about. So this is the best case scenario. And so if we have strong GDP, so if we have a strong economy, that's good. If we have high wage growth, so if we're seeing people earning more and more money, that's good, because as long as they're not earning over $176,100, they're contributing to FICA. Once you reach that point, then you no longer have to contribute to FICA. But if you have more people in that group, so more people in the middle class, if you want to say it that way, that are earning just under $176,100, that's good for FICA. That's more money that's being collected and going to pay out benefits. And then you don't have to draw as much on the trust fund if you have that scenario. And then low unemployment. So if we see low unemployment, if you have a striving workforce, you have a lot of people that are working and they're earning higher wages, that all will help out FICA. And then we see high birth rates. So if we see high birth rates, now the situation with high birth rates, that takes time. So let's say we start seeing high birth rates in the next few years. Well, it's going to be, let's say 16, 18 years before those people will start working because they're babies right now. So once they start working, then they can help contribute to FICA. So this is something you have to look down the road. And that's why the talk of immigration is so important. Because right now, what we're seeing is a lot of deportations, which are taking a lot of people that were working and you're deporting them. So those jobs, some of those jobs won't get filled. Actually, a lot of those jobs probably won't get filled because they're not high wage jobs. They're not jobs that you can really make a career of. And so a lot of those jobs are just going to go away. But some of those jobs, people were contributing to FICA, and they were contributing to FICA and was helping out people receiving benefits. But now that those jobs are gone, that money is not going into Social Security anymore. But when we look at immigration, immigration is a great way to bring in people right now and have them working and contributing to FICA to help pay out benefits, because you can do it just by changing the rules when it comes to immigration. So having some type of immigration reform, allowing people to come into the country and allowing them to work and contribute to FICA. Now, a lot of them won't be able to receive Social Security because you still have to go through the same criteria that everyone else does. You have to be a certain age. You have to work for at least 10 years. And so you're still going to have to do that. So some of those people might not stay for a full 10 years, or they might not be at the age where they can collect Social Security. So some of the people, if you have immigrants coming to this country, some of them are not going to be able to benefit from Social Security, but they will be paying into it. But it's a good way to change when it comes to birth rates. It's a good way to address that issue by allowing people to work and contribute to FICA. And then this is the best case scenario, but it's not really something that we want to talk about: slower life expectancy. So if we're living shorter lives, that would benefit Social Security or benefit the trust funds as a whole. And then they give the projection here of 2050 plus. So 2033 is what we're hearing a lot about. If we saw all of these things happen, okay, if we saw this scenario, the low cost scenario, that could prolong the trust funds out a lot longer. But the most likely scenario is the one that we've been hearing, 2033. Now, what needs to happen? Right now, Congress needs to make a decision. They need to move forward with reforming Social Security. Okay, now you have different politicians out there that have different ways that they want to do this. You have some politicians that are saying that we need higher taxes, basically. We need to bring in more revenue. If we bring in more revenue, that will help prolong the program. Now, when we say higher taxes, people say, oh, I don't want to pay higher taxes. But if you really looked at the FICA, if you really looked at the 6.2% that you're contributing, your employer is matching that 6.2%. Let's say you raise it to 7.2% and your employer matches 7.2%. You're really not going to be contributing that much more in taxes, you know, in the big scheme of things, but it will help prolong the program out past 2033, maybe 2050, maybe 2065. So you'd be able to pull in more revenue so you can secure your retirement future when it comes to Social Security. And so that's what's important. And that's why I think politicians need to explain to the American people, look, this is a scenario that we can do. This is a bill that we can pass, and we can increase it just by a little bit. And they can also gradually increase it. So it doesn't have to be overnight, but a 1% increase is not going to be something that most people are not going to feel that. But they will feel it when they retire, because they'll be able to receive their Social Security benefits at 100%, and we won't be looking at a situation where we're seeing a 23% cut to benefits across the board. And we also won't be looking at a situation where because you have some politicians out there saying, well, we need to increase the full retirement age. So increase it from 67 now until, let's say, 70. So that means that you need to work longer. You're going to feel that if you have to work longer. And so that's something else that has been talked about. But ultimately, Congress needs to reform Social Security at this point so we can prolong the program out. And so I want to know what you guys think about all this, so let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye. So that's all we have for this video. Make sure if you guys want to send me an email, you can do that, david@thetecshow.com. Like the video, subscribe for more, and check out these videos over here for some more great content. Talk to you later. Bye.